Okay, here we go. Duluth Conservative,
We're back again.
episode 52, and we are running through a lot of technical issues tonight, so please bear with us. Dave has to mute every once in a while because I'm echoing really badly and he doesn't have any headset, so we'll do our best to get through this show, but sometimes Dave's going to be talking and not hearing us, or we won't hear him, and my internet connection is probably going to go out, so deal with it.
Exactly.
All right, Dave. So before we start, what do you got? Got anything for me? What do you want to talk about before we start going with the show? How was your week? I am not in Minnesota right now, so I thought I'd catch up with you during this at the same time.
Well, ever since you left, it's been actually kind of warm. So we got that to deal with, the warmth and the pleasure and the sunshine. And so just, right before you left, it was, minus 40. And, I think we're 35 today. And then this weekend's going to be in the 40s. So
you're welcome.
We blame you once again. So
I can stay away longer if it helps.
Yeah, I think you're in a little bit better situation than we are around here. So
we'll see.
We've got our ice problem around here, both federal and local. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that when we come to Duluth stuff. But let's jump into the show, shall we? The first thing I wanted to talk about was Minnesota fraud. All this stuff we have about fraud, people stealing our money, taking it from us, and just dumping us, they're taxing us out of this money, and then they take that money and they just go to, parts unknown, other countries, luxury vehicles, and this story has completely vanished out of the news all of a sudden. It's just gone. All people seem to want to focus on is Epstein files and, the ICE agents. And it's sad because that's the distraction right there. That's what they're trying to do, is distract us from what's going on. So this is a good article here. Why has this been memory hold? Why is this gone? I don't care about ICE that much, and I don't know why people do. But Minnesota fraud should bother everybody. Stealing from your future, from your funds, and taking it from you, and then it's gone. You're not getting it back. It's like, and they're taking your time too. What they're not just stealing is your money, because you trade your time for your money. And so they're taking from you something you can't get back, which is your time. And I really want to make sure that this stays in the news, because it's not going to get fixed unless people focus on it. And not only now, but as the legislative session starts up, we have to make sure our lawmakers do something about it in this session. They can't just let it go. Thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, the new session starts February 17th, which is next Tuesday. So luckily, Holman declared today that he was moving out of Minnesota. So next week, we need to focus back on the fraud again. So that is that is the main thing. I have a feeling. I have a feeling it is, or will be. So
I hope so. So yeah, Holman said it was going to. They're jumping out of here, and that's if they've got the job done, that's good. If they're just leaving because of protests, that's bad. But I think it's because they've gotten the majority of what they have to do done. But did you notice what's happened in the last couple of weeks is the Minneapolis police, or the National Guard, I don't know which, I think it was the Minneapolis police, were the ones stepping in between the protesters and ICE. So if your complaint is that the ICE agents are untrained and they can't do their job, this was a good solution to it. Let the Minneapolis police get in between it. Just stay out of their way, let them do their job. And if that's what's happened and they're ready to pull down, great. That means that they've gotten the majority of the people they wanted out. That doesn't mean the job's over. It just means that the surge here is over, so they can concentrate on other parts of the country, which is good.
Yeah, and I think that's what we don't hear from Walz. Walz is going to admit that he's going to allow him and Small Fry are going to allow cooperation between all of the departments. And I think behind closed doors, they promised to cooperate. They cooperated. And if Holman will get out of town, I mean, I heard rumors of like around 4,000 people they arrested. So, it's a good start. They're never leaving. They're going to draw down, but they'll never leave. So,
right. We just got a message I'll put on here. ICE was created from the Patriot Act. If you know anything about that, you would be concerned. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Patriot Act is not a good thing, but ICE is not a bad thing. It's Immigration and Customs Control. They should be there. If they're there to get the people out of the state, out of the country, that's a good thing. We got people that come in unvetted. We don't know if they have a vaccination status. We don't know if they're criminals. We don't think they have a job, because the people that we allow in here legally, so I'm only talking about illegal aliens. I'm not talking about legal immigrants. The legal ones that come in get in because they have a job lined up, or they're going to contribute to society, and they have to go through a bunch of tests. And that's the proper way to go through. Those people I have no problem with. It's the illegal aliens. And that's what always gets missed when the media talks about it. They never put the word illegal aliens. So they talk about all immigrants in a big umbrella, and it's just misleading. And we're going to talk a little bit in the future about some of the misleading stuff the media has been doing. But I agree. Patriot Act, not a good thing. But yeah, somebody just wrote, ICE is the least objectionable part about the Patriot Act. Patriot Act should never have passed, but that doesn't mean ICE isn't necessary and needed. So, all right, let's move on to the Walz administration claims fraud in Minnesota is not uniquely bad. So instead of saying, yes, fraud is bad and we shouldn't have it in Minnesota, what he says is, well, it's bad, but it's not just Minnesota that has it. So what's the big deal? And I've never seen somebody shuck and jive so much as Walz about all this stuff. At first, if you live in Minnesota, you're going to know this, that he just said there was no fraud. There was no fraud. There was no wasteful spending at all. And they just laughed about it. And so now when it's been brought up to attention, now they say, well, it's not so bad. Not so bad. It's not just Minnesota. So.
Right. And everybody knows it's not just Minnesota. They've found fraud in basically every state, but right now they're going after the states that aren't doing anything about it.
Right.
Which is one, Minnesota. And it made the national news because Walz isn't doing anything about it.
Right. In fact, he was the one that said, if they build a 40-foot wall, I'll invest in 42-foot ladders. I mean, the rep from Duluth wanted to create this as a sanctuary state. That's why we have all these problems. If we didn't have these illegal aliens in the state and in the country, there would be no need for ICE to come here and take people out, because we wouldn't have the illegal aliens to begin with. So we might talk more about this, but I wanted to move on to another thing that has to do with fraud, but it's kind of a cautionary tale to people. This guy had convinced people that they are sovereign citizens, and therefore all of the laws don't actually apply to them. And he built them out of millions of dollars. Now, he has been caught, but he had taken out about $90 million from people. If you think that you're a citizen, you're a sovereign citizen in the United States, this is what happened to Wesley Snipes too. It's not going to last. The federal government will come after you. And there's better ways to do it than to do this. I mean, if you really want to get away from tax laws, lobby your politicians or be in politics to get rid of laws. But don't think for a second because you say you're a sovereign citizen that you don't have to pay the taxes. They'll come after you. Agree or disagree with the position. Don't get bilked out of your money from somebody who says that it's okay to do that. So I wanted to bring that up just because I thought it was a very interesting story.
Yeah, you'd think if you stole $500,000, you'd be happy, but he wasn't happy enough with just that. So he had to just keep stealing and, make sure that he got caught, basically stand out.
Yeah. Oh, let's go through our comments just a little bit. Somebody is asking, saying we're not interacting because we're cowards, but he said, so that's a good reason to capture and murder people. I don't understand why. I don't know where you're getting the fact that they're capturing and murdering people. So you're going to have to come up with some information on that because I think it's just garbage. All right. We're going to move on to elections. And in Minnesota, Representative Adderoff said that after viewing the voter rolls in Hennepin County, she believes that we definitely need some help here in Minnesota because the rolls are not clean or what everyone would consider reliable or accurate. And in Minnesota, one registered voter can vouch for up to 8 other people without an ID. And that is just unacceptable. Unacceptable. So the whole reason, the whole big problem is you wonder how these people get elected, like Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz. And then what you have to do is say, are people really voting them in, or are they getting in, is it fraud? And you have this cognitive dissonance that says, I can't believe people are voting for it. So then you say, are the elections safe? But you go to the Secretary of State or Attorney General, they will just say, yeah, of course they are. And you say, prove it. And they said, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. And that's the end of it. So, it gets into this cycle. If we had elections that were definitely secure, and I'm talking about if we have voting machines, it's with, open source software. If we had voter ID, which Minnesota kind of got in front of to take care of, so they give illegal aliens IDs that are indistinguishable from citizens' IDs. I think they were doing that in anticipation we might have voter ID at some point. But you get all these things in place and then you believe the elections, then you have no reason to complain about what's happening. Then you really know that the people are getting elected should be getting elected. But until that happens, there's always going to be a question. And there's just absolutely no reason not to have some sort of proof when you're voting that you are who you say you are, you're a citizen of the United States, and you should be allowed to vote. And then you voted one time. I'd love to hear any argument against that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, why is Secretary of State Steve Simon now? Why won't he do anything about it? I mean, if he believes that it's perfectly honest and perfectly accurate, then he would be gladly show them. But because he's hiding it, then makes you more wonder. What is he trying to hide? I mean, if I was Secretary of State, I'd say, yeah, try to find my mistakes and
Right.
make it more secure. Help me, But he's being all dodgy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it really seems like that, the protests against ICE, which I'll separate the people that are organizing it and the protesters themselves. I think the protesters themselves may be on with the best intentions or just got hyped up into it, which I will ask the question again, why now? And why not during the Obama administration when Tom Homan was getting medals for doing what he's doing now? But it seems like they want the people here because, like the saying goes, if you take $500 from one person and give $100 to 5 people, you lost that one voter with $500, but you gained 5 voters. And it certainly seems like they're bending over backwards to be able to accommodate people coming in so they will vote for them to keep them in office. And it's a vicious cycle of pulling all our money down, getting these illegal aliens in place, keeping them in power. They get rich. I mean, look at Ilhan Omar right now. She was, $40,000 in debt 5 years ago? And now she's worth multiple millions of dollars. So you can see the reason why, if it's corrupted, why they'd want to keep it in place and what they would be doing. And I can't say for sure that's what's happening, but if you were trying to do it, you would do it no other way. You would import a bunch of illegal aliens. You would tell them you're the one that's keeping them here. You're the one protecting them. And if they get a chance to vote, which they're already here illegally, so they're not really, it's no skin off their nose to do something else illegal, and they'll vote for you. And then you'll stay in power. they'll be here. You'll have enough money because you're in power. So,
well, as we've said 100 times before, the politicians are there to solve a problem. So what problem is Walz and Ellison trying to solve? How to stay in power.
right. That's the problem.
How to keep getting votes. That's
right.
That's what they're trying to solve. So
yeah, the difficult thing too is separating out, like when we talk about these things, it's the leadership that's really the problem. And you look at, like, I know a lot of Democrats. I have a lot of Democrats and liberals in my family. We all get along. They're not doing this though. It's the people in power that are doing this. But unfortunately, the Democrats are voting for them. And I still haven't come to the reason why a lot of the time. Because a lot of times you talk about what they're doing and they're totally against it. I won't say who. One person doesn't like what they're doing as far as letting illegals come in and vote. Some don't like men and women's sports. You know, they'll have a series of things, but they'll absolutely refuse to vote anything other than Democrats. It's mind-boggling to me. All right, so I put a little subsection here called, I'm going to mute you, Dave. Oh, there you go. Illegal invasion. So I want to talk about some of the illegal aliens into the country again. And again, let's make sure that we have the separation between legal immigrants, illegal aliens, not talking about legal immigrants. The first thing was, you're showing our sheet as opposed to the link, Dave. Minneapolis neighbors are setting up their own version of border protection. So they've set up checkpoints. This is the most ironic thing possible. They set up a checkpoint and they check people's IDs as they come and go because they want to make sure that only the right people are in their neighborhood. Completely doing what ICE is doing on a national level. I mean, that's what we do. We set up the border, we check IDs and make sure only the people we want in the area are there. They do it and it's okay. We do it as a national security thing and it's bad, apparently. It's mind-boggling. It's hilarious.
It's irony at its greatest.
Yeah. There's another article here that's illegal alien causes a major multi-car crash in Minnesota while fleeing from ICE. So if you were part of a protest that warned this guy, and so he knew that the ICE agents were there and he took off and he got in this car, you must know that you are part of the problem. This blood is on your hands for this. So please understand that if you're protesting this and these guys do anything else, you know, not everybody that they're picking up is a criminal, is a violent criminal, but some are really bad people. If they get away because of what you're doing and protesting and they hurt another person, you should understand that that's on you. You are part of that problem and you better own it.
Let's see. That's what these people are breaking the law, yet we don't have any protests on it. And ICE makes a mistake or shoots someone who's trying to run them over, trying to run them over, trying to kill them, and now the ICE is bad. It's like, that makes no sense to me.
Right.
No logical sense. And I was thinking about it as like, the left needs to break up, or Democrats need to break up into two groups, because you have this fanatical terrorist group, very far left group of Democrats that are terrorizing the neighborhood, shutting down businesses in Minneapolis, and you have your typical moderate Democrat like Bill Maher. Bill Maher's always been the same, but everyone has just gone so nut job left of him that he actually seems like a normal person.
Yeah. Right. So and that's happened to a lot of people.
The Democrats need to split it in half. Get rid of the Yeah,
I've seen that. It's not the only one. Bill Maher's not the only one. I've seen many I saw this one guy who's like, yeah, somebody called me Republican and they said, what turned you into that? And he said, I didn't change. You just got so far left that you left me behind. I came across another article here about that labor unions are supporting illegal aliens. Yeah, can't talk today. And it's interesting because 2 years ago, when I gave a forum in front of a labor union, I was shocked that they were so adamantly supporting the illegal aliens because it didn't used to be that way. The problem was that they'd come in and they'd undercut the union jobs. So the unions were well aware that illegal aliens would cause them work because people would hire them, not use the unions, and then pay them much lower. And now it seems like they're supporting them, and I can't piece that together why. Again, I'm not talking about regular immigrants, I'm talking about illegal aliens. So why would a labor union support having illegal aliens in this country? Do you have any ideas about that, Dave?
No, I was thinking about it, and I I couldn't come up with anything logical. I mean, the only thing that I could come up with is because uh, the DFL in Minnesota pumps up the unions, and then the unions feed money back to the DFL. That that's part of their compensation to get you know to get more union jobs. So forcing the government to use union is to so now this is their payback. Is we're going to support whatever dumb thing you're coming up with next. So
Right. Yeah, it seems like that, and then unfortunately, that seems to be the way, is that endless cycle, and it may even be against your best interest. And as union members, that's different from the union leadership. I understand the union leadership may be in on that. Union members are not. They don't get that kickback that the union leaders do. So I can see why the leaders may be telling their people to do it. But in fact, I've talked to a lot of union members, and they agree with our stance about illegal aliens. So I saw this. This next one is U of M student activists chained themselves to a building, and they're trying to get ICE out. So I saw this, and I also saw the article is kind of funny because it lasted about 10 minutes. And this, I don't get it. It lasted about 10 minutes, and then they were told, you're going to disperse and that you may have consequences for this. So I'm glad the university may be actually doing something about this, because chaining yourself to a building is not helping anybody. I wish they'd do it at 20 below outside. Maybe they might learn something, but
they did get arrested, and I seen their web shots on their mug shots on the web someplace. So it's at least there isn't really any consequences, but it is kind of humorous to waste their day. And now they have a record, so if they go to a job interview, you can ask them about that. So
they did get arrested for that. I don't understand why they'd arrest them for that. I'm just being stupid. But
it was on Alpha News, and something about something about blocking the entrance of a public university or something like that. So
okay, I'm going to talk about a couple of these comments coming in because I think they're pretty funny. So the first one is GOP members found chaining themselves to Epstein Island. So I'm going to preface this first, and I'm going to have something to say about Epstein Island. I can see if somebody took a plane ride with Epstein and didn't have anything to do with what was going on in the island. So I can see taking one or two plane rides. It may have been perfectly innocent. You don't know. Going to his island, I could see you going to his island once, not knowing what was going to be there, finding out what was going to be there, and then getting the crap out of there, and then hopefully reporting it to the police. If you went multiple times, then you've got a problem. I can't believe you've gone multiple times to that island without knowing what was going on in that horrible island. Secondly, I don't care who goes to the island. Take them all down. I want to know why Maxwell whatever her name is, Ghislaine Maxwell, is in jail for racketeering of prostitution with no Johns being arrested. So yes, I want them all arrested. And if they were with underage kids, yeah, I'll lock them all up. So I'll tell you that right now, I got no love for anybody that went to that island and participated in that. So the next one, though, I like even better. We're brainwashed boomers, Dave. Wrong
Really?
generation. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I'm going to go on to the next story. The last in the, no, second to last in the fraud section. Senator Josh Hawley confirmed that at least $60 million in dark money is funding the Minnesota protests. So we knew this from the beginning that these have to be funded, right? They show up with trucks of signs that are professionally made signs. Those are not cheap. They cost a lot of money to make those signs, and they're showing up in truckloads for these people. They all have the same chants. They all have the same slogans. There's people you see at these protests that are at this protest. They're at a protest in DC. They're in protest in Texas. So this is the senator that confirmed it. And he said they've tracked over $600 million or $60 million, according to at least 990 disclosures, to approximately 14 groups. Some of them national, others on the ground. Groups like the ACLU provide the legal defense, as well as facilitate the trainings for some of the tactics that Senator Corey just described. So it's an interesting article to read, or an interesting post to read, but it just shows that this stuff isn't organic. These people aren't just protesting because they've had enough. This has been going on since at least the Obama administration, and even before that. We've had ICE agents taking, Reagan did a whole national clemency for illegal aliens and then just restarted again. But Obama, Biden, both deported more people than Trump has done in his term. So why now? Why is it suddenly the biggest thing in people's lives to argue about? If there's a reason, it's because you're being told that this is important.
Yeah, like we've said, this is Trump derangement system syndrome. This has nothing to do with immigration, because they'd have been protesting Obama, the first Trump presidency, the Biden, and before, and all the Bushes, and Clinton, because in those administrations were deporting more people.
Right.
And they even found they found a white Suburban downtown Minneapolis with a time card reader on it, and people were punching in and out. So this whole movement, this whole protest, it's all fabricated. It's not even real.
Do you remember when they were protesting Tesla for the week or two when they were told that was the biggest thing to do? And I remember there was a protest outside of a Tesla plant, and it was like 1:00. It was like the dinner bell rang, and like the Flintstones, and they just walked off at 1:00. It was like everybody just left. That was the end of the day. And that kind of showed, they're getting paid to be there. Let's see.
Yeah, and that Josh post he put in, it just proves what everybody already knew about. So
I didn't really read this article. I don't know if you put this on or if I just happened to be really sleepy when I did it. A group put up prosecute ICE display at the Minnesota Capitol, and somebody came and kicked it over until all it said was pro ICE. That's trolling vandalism at its finest. Now, I'm not saying you should be able to damage stuff, but at the same time, why is it at the Capitol in the first place?
Well, that was one thing I looked into, because it was that Jake Lang that I've never heard about until just recently, and So the people who put the sign up originally did actually have a permit to put that up. So, you know, technically, realistically, him destroying it was illegal, and they did arrest him and do whatever. But this whole article, the basis of the article was, well, why are they prosecuting him when they didn't prosecute that the guy in 2020 who did $170,000 worth of damage to the Columbus statue, tore it down, smashed it, even though there was a cop standing there. They gave him 100 hours of community service. So why is this guy didn't do any real damage to anything, any state property, and he's getting, because he's a Republican, or he's a far right loony, but as I've been investigating, but why are they going after him when they never went after anybody on the left? So we're back to our double standards of the judicial system again.
Right.
And yeah, they arrested, he vandalized something that had permission to be there.
Right. All we would ask for is that the laws are applied equally. So I have no problem with him being arrested if they had a permit for it and he went and vandalized it. I got no problem with him getting arrested for it, facing some consequences for it. But I don't just want to see him get it. I want to see everybody that does. Like you mentioned, the Columbus statue. They pick somebody, they're vandalizing something. Please also apply the law equally to them. Then we all have a fair shot, and we all know what the rules are. We'll go on to the next one. Minneapolis woman who went viral for berating yoga studio employees over ICE say she's now banned. So if I get this straight, she got mad, went to a yoga class, and then yelled at people about ICE, and is curious of why she might have been banned from the place after that. That's just logical.
Yeah, logical. Yeah, so she goes into her yoga studio and start screaming at the girls that work behind the counter, who really have nothing to do with it. They're just workers. And then she convinces everybody how horrible everybody is, and she's right and everybody's wrong. And so the actual owners of the yoga studio said, okay, your poor behavior got you banned for life. So
well, people go to yoga not to get into political discussions. They go to relax or stretch.
Right. Yeah. So, and the yoga studio is actually agreed with her, but it wasn't enough for her. So she went off, and so we looked up who she was, and she's just an executive director of the Advanced Equity Coalition, a left-wing nonprofit focused on equity in the Twin Cities public schools. According to the organization's most recent IRS Form 990 filing for 24, she was paid over $100,000, but she's the only one that works there.
Oh.
So she raises money for herself to be a pain in the butt for everybody else.
It's always educational, too, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what the whole thing is hilarious to me, but you're there for exercise, not a political movement. So.
So, all right, we're going to move on to a more horrible, serious topic now. A transvestite in Canada killed a number of people. And I want to see if I can get the numbers exactly right here. I think the guy killed his mom and some other people. I'm sorry I don't have the specifics on it. I just have not had time to look at this. But Canada is just amazingly gun controlled right now. I mean, they gone all out on gun control and taking people's guns away from them. But it didn't stop this guy, because you'll find a way if you really want to shoot somebody. So his whole background was pretty bad. I think he was the son of a woman who wanted a trans kid and just started all the transitioning and everything when he was young. And you shoot somebody full of that many drugs at that early part of life, it's just a recipe for disaster. And I saw a Babylon Bee article, which clearly is a, fake news place, but they were like, experts are baffled about the common cause between several mass shootings lately, and they're all because they're all transvestite men. And I think it has to do with the amount of drugs they take, or the feeling like maybe they were lied to, or just, I don't know what it is. I'm no psychiatrist. It's sad. It's sad that they're being helped along this way. And then what happens is they get to a snapping point and they snap and they do this. It's a pretty sad story. It's sad for the people that got shot. They didn't deserve it. And I want to talk. So before I talk about the propaganda involved with that, do you have anything to add to that, Dave?
No, just basically the same thing. Is there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the drugs that they're taking. So, on one hand, they're growing up not feeling correct in their body. Is that causing it? Or the amount of drugs that they're being filled with, does that cause them to go haywire and want to kill people? So until we figure that out, everybody's just guessing. It's kind of a conspiracy theory, but what is it? What's causing? I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, just one after another, there's mass shootings, and it's by a transgender person. Well,
right.
Why? Is it because they're uncomfortable in their body, which a mental issue, or is it the drugs that they're getting shoved down their throats?
Yeah, and I think it all has to go on the table to figure that out. I mean, it should all be looked at. And that's a good segue into the article I want to bring up is the National Post. Their article was the headline is Terry Newman, the isolation that triggered the Tumbler Ridge tragedy. So they've already determined what the problem is. It was isolation of this guy. Well, that may be, but I bet you that's not it. I mean, that shouldn't be at least all of it. There's so much stuff that could happen. But they're trying to, again, this is the propaganda. They're saying it's not actually his fault. It was society's fault. It was because he was so alone, and he's the victim almost, and it's sickening to see. They know about as much of it as I do, and I don't know a lot, but I don't think they should be making excuses for him. And the other thing is, this next article, you pop this one up. I'm trying to load it right now. It's not that there was a big tragedy. It was that he was misgendered. I have a problem with the RCMP identifying the person, the shooter in TR, as trans, as opposed to simply identifying them as a female. This was not a female. This was a man dressing up like a woman. And in the previous article, or 2 previous articles, you saw a picture of him, clearly a man. But this is what they focus on instead of what the real problem was, which is this guy's going off and shooting people. And that's just not right. So I want to move off of this, but
yeah, get them the help that they need. They obviously need help prior to this, and they need to be, someone needs to step in and, hey, what's going on, before they get to this point.
Well, it would be nice if they did that, but they've banned that in Minnesota. You can't do that. They call it conversion therapy. Conversion therapy to them is saying to a kid that says, I want to be a girl or I want to be a boy, to say, wait a second, are you sure? Let's go through some counseling. Let's talk about it first. But they've banned that here in Minnesota, and we need to get that back. Just like anything else, if it's so abnormal, you should be talking about it to try to figure out what is the root of all that. And there's so many things that we don't let kids do because they're kids. We don't let them drink. We don't let them smoke. We don't let them get tattoos until they're a certain age. And even that's with parental consent until they're 18. You know, you can't go to the doctor and say, hey, can you just remove one of my arms because I just don't want it? They won't do it. But when it comes to mutilation of genitals or taking genitals, they're just okay with it. I just don't understand it. And I can't have anybody make it make sense to me either. And I don't think I want to have somebody make it make sense to me either. All right.
Yeah, something not normal is hard to make sense of.
All right. Anything about that horrible topic? Are we done?
No, it's the same. Well, it's the same as the U.S. propaganda of, you know, they have an agenda. They care more about the agenda than what actually happened. So
right. Yeah, it's not unique to Canada. It is happening in the United States quite a bit. All right, I'm going to move on to Duluth, Minnesota news. We finally got here. It's 41 minutes in. Leash Kozlowski has declared that she will run again for Minnesota House 8B. And I thought it was interesting in that the Duluth News Tribune actually did an article on her and actually did quotes on her. So when she made the announcements that she was intending to run, they actually sent up somebody to talk to her, as opposed to when I announced it, they took a file photo of me and then watched Northern News Now, apparently, to find out what was going on. So it's good to know that they're right in the camp already.
yeah, I guess we don't have to know to worry too much about who they're going to endorse.
No, I'm pretty sure third time in a row they're going to do it. So
yeah, even though she hasn't done anything.
Oh no, she's done quite a lot to screw things up. She was one of the ones that wanted a sanctuary state. She wanted to put housing rules in Minneapolis as opposed to Duluth so they could cram as many high density houses into the area as possible. She tried to stop all mining in the area. You know, when I say that, I say tried to, but she was also part of the resolution to create universal basic income for some people, which included illegal aliens, free college for some people, which included illegal aliens. And so she was involved with some of that. She just didn't pioneer it. She just latched onto it. So she has been part of the problem, even though she doesn't produce anything herself.
Yeah, because looking back at her record, none of the bills she authored got through. So we're thankful for that.
Yes, thank God. Let's talk about the city council meetings. It seems like it's getting kind of spicy. I kind of wish I was there to go to some of these, but now I'll be back in a while. And it looks like there was some sort of decorum problem. So if you've never been to a city council meeting, they're pretty fun because they have a whole set of rules that what you can and cannot say, what you can and cannot do. They focus you very finely into a small alley so that nobody feels upset at the end of it. And I'm noticing some of the city councilors, and I'm not trying to point anybody out, and I haven't seen these. Like Kennedy is talking about saying, I've been so respectful in listening to you all, and I just asked for the same respect. I don't see you doing that to any other counselors except for me, except for the black woman. I'm going to call it out. You're doing it to me only as a black woman. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but I like what I've heard from Kennedy. I think she does a pretty good job, and she's one of the more solid city councilors we have. She's not the only one speaking out. I think there was somebody, nephew, was saying that she shared some of the tweets or some of the posts she got. They're pretty vile. I mean, they're going right for the throat. Man, I mean, so I don't necessarily agree with the decorum rules, but at the same time, people just go way outside the boundaries of what you should be saying to people too. It reminds me of the Mike Tyson quote, like, some people have just gone their lives without ever being punched in the nose. You do that to somebody, face to face, and there's consequences sometimes. But a lot of these people have grown up just being able to say anything, the most vile thing possible. It's about somebody, and no repercussions. So, I'm going to go on and I'll read a little bit more about this article before we comment on it. And this is, as I understand, this is still Kennedy talking. I was at a coffee shop just last week, and instead of my name on the cup, when I went to pick it up, it instead said Nazi on it. And so I discarded that. That's a smart idea. That's like when Sheldon Cooper in Big Bang Theory went to the restaurant and Penny, he was in an argument with her and she brought the hamburger and she said, "There, eat it. I dare you." You're not going to want to drink that cup of coffee or go back there. And she should say what establishment that was, honestly, that did that to her. I've had voicemails left where people wrote me a lovely song. Well, that's nice. And the most recent one was a song that was written for me about how I should kill myself and die. Jesus, people. So these things are happening to us. When we're in the chambers and we are experiencing this sort of interaction with folks, we are uncomfortable and often afraid to walk to our cars. That was nephew saying that. And I totally agree. You got to just lay off. These are people that live in the area. You may not like agree with what they're trying to do, but geez, take a step back and look at yourself. Whatever problem you think is happening, if you think that's such an existential threat, go to the cops. Don't go after these city councilors. Mayor Reinhardt, disrespectful behavior, including shouting, jeering, swearing, and name calling by members of the public, are an alarming trend at our city council meetings. Yeah. Stop doing it. If you're doing that, stop it. You're not proving any point. You're just looking like an insane person. So I open it up now for discussion, Dave. Please don't call me an ignorant idiot.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is everyone from the Duluth City Council is a major leftist, is a major Democrat. Yet they're still getting death threats and obscene remarks thrown at them. So at what point does the Democrat Party split up themselves in half and get rid of those people? Call them what they are, and become Democrats again. Because right now they've lost all credibility because of the way they're acting. The businesses in Minneapolis are closing because of their terrorist tactics down in the cities. It's no different than here. If a Democrat can't even walk to her car because of a Democrat, that there's a problem. So they need to straighten their own organization out before they get to somebody else.
Yeah, it reminds me of what you brought up, Bill Maher, earlier. Bill Maher just said it's never enough for these guys. And I liken it to, so that fringe group has latched onto the Democrats because in the Venn diagram, which I love Venn diagrams because Kamala taught me these, but there is an overlap with what the Democrats and the far left Democrats want. It may not be a lot, but there is an overlap. So they latch onto that party because that party has power. Just like let's say the KKK latched on the Republican Party. There were some things that were overlap, but for the most part, the KKK doesn't represent the Republicans, and the far left crazies don't represent the Democrats, but they get lumped in together, which is horrible. So, yeah, just calm yourselves down. So I wanted to bring this up because I love this comment. I bring up a quote from Mike Tyson. People say they are going to say because they've never been punched in the face, and this is the comment. Mike Tyson was a rapist. Yes, I am aware that he was convicted of rape. You missed the whole point of what I said to bring that up. Here's the point I'm trying to make. I just happened to say it because Mike Tyson said it, and I thought it was kind of funny. But the point you take out of it was he's a rapist. So you shut everything off, put the blinders on, but stop that. Start listening to the content a little bit. I understand Mike Tyson's not a great guy. I wouldn't want him around my kids. I mean, he seems like he's mellowed in age, but I don't want to go into a big Mike Tyson thing, but I just thought that was kind of funny. All right.
And basically, they got all into this big war because they tabled a motion on what was it? Financial restitution to protect families impacted by a metro surge. Well, they tabled it because it was a county thing and a state thing, not a city thing. So they tabled it 5-4, and that wasn't good enough for them. So that's part of the threats. And so if you don't agree with completely with these lunatics, then then we need to attack you, and you should die, according to the song.
Well, yeah, it's a lovely song apparently. But the thing is, number one, we shouldn't be protecting people that are directly impacted by Operation Metro Surge if they're the illegal aliens they're trying to get rid of. And that's the only people that should be impacted. Number two, it's not the city's job to fix every goddamn problem that comes along and not to use our money to pay for other people. Steal money from some people to give to others. That's not the role of the government. So stop trying to do it that way. So they're wrong to begin with to ask for this. I wish I would have gone to that. I'm not in town. I got to that meeting. I'd probably spoken up for ICE, and God knows what they would have done to me on my way out. Of course, I'm driving a rental car because I got wrecked. So what do I care? All right, let's move on to something more fun. Duluth invites the public to weigh in on the future of former city golf course. So we've talked about this for months. Lester Park Golf Course, Lakeside, used to be a city course, had 27 holes. It closed, 3 years ago for good? 3 or 4 years ago?
I think it was 5 or 6. No, I thought it was
it's been a while.
So I think it's been a while. I don't. I'll have to look that up, but it's been a while. How about?
So there's a ton of proposals have been on it, but that land's been sitting there. The golf course was still serviceable 2 years ago. I don't know if it still is. I don't know what the state of the fairways are. There's a proposal that I was part of this committee to go over these proposals, and they had a lot of good ones, but most of them didn't have funding or didn't have a reasonable way to run it without, massive amounts of public funds. There's one proposal that had a hotel. They were going to own 18 holes of the golf course. They were going to build housing on the rest of it. And it was going to be multi-level kind of housing. So small houses up to big houses. They would be all part of the golf course, but the golf course would still be publicly available. Then they were going to bring in, big star restaurants. So that proposal to me was the most attractive because we were estimating conservatively like $10 million of tax revenue coming in from that, especially with the excess revenue we get from taxes for resorts. But then you have a bookend for Lakeside of Duluth. You've got Spirit Mountain on the one side, and you'd have this on the other side, and you got Canal Park in the middle. It made for a really good argument to build this thing. And we got housing. We already have the golf course built. They would probably rejigger some of the holes, but when they first did this proposal, the golf course was still running, and they were just going to reuse the holes as they were. So Reinhardt, the mayor, has been pushing to get something done with this. This is a big contrast to the last mayor, Emily Larson, who I believe was the one who spearheaded shutting it down because she wanted to take all that land and put housing on it. And so she wouldn't let them raise their prices, I guess. So they were losing money. So that's why they closed. So now they're asking for public opinion on the new city golf course, or what to do with the golf course. And it says here, as city officials consider what should become of the former Lester Park golf course property, they are turning to the public for direction. A resolution authorizing an agreement with Bolton and Mink Inc. for a land use study for the former Lester Park golf course in the amount of $197,000. So this is the city of Duluth, by the way. That somebody asked the question. This is for the city of Duluth, and then Lester Park Golf Course is on the east end of this city. So that's what we're talking about here. Go, Dave.
Yeah, so they just authorized less than a month ago $200,000 to do a land use study, and now they're asking for the public's voice in on it when they haven't got the study back. They've formed commissions like you were on. They've done public forums before. They've done this a million times, and now they're asking again for public. What do we need a city council for if they're not going to make a stinking decision? It's been how many years, and they can't make a decision. They've wasted millions of dollars, and now they want more opinions. It's time to get rid of the city council.
Well, if I understand the city council correctly, what they're going to want to do is create a subcommittee to give them the answer, because that's what do we got, like 33 subcommittees now. Yeah, you're right. This has been going on for about 12, 15 years of what to do with Lester Park Golf Course. I understand wanting to get the public's opinion. I would like to have a plan and get the public's opinion, because just doing a blue sky, and if you've ever been to a business meeting and just ask for ideas, you're going to get every idea under the sun. The way you get the best input, though, is to have a plan and have people pick that plan apart. So I hope they do that instead of just doing this is just another RFP. You know, that developer is going to walk away. He's basically gave up already. So when we talked to him, he's like, look, I've done this. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, but I'll do the proposal. It would be great if they could get it, but I don't hold out much hope. More than likely, they're going to squander that land, unfortunately.
Yeah, they've wasted so much time with it. They're going to walk away. Someone that can actually make use of that land, they're going to walk away. Duluth Central High School, now that it's tore down, no one's going to want to do business with the city because it's going to take them 10 years to make a decision.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to Minnesota legislature, and we only have one article here. It's the Twin Cities small business owners call for the state relief amid ice surge. Stop talking and start doing. So Walz grabbed hold of this and says, I think we have a responsibility to the business community across the state to look at every single one of those proposals and what are the proposals? They want immediate action, believing many restaurants and businesses are close to shutting down entirely without direct economic assistance. So I'm wondering if they're complaining that because people are staying away because there are rioters there and they're keeping people away, or are they complaining because they're losing their workers? Like the workers aren't coming anymore because they.
The Democrats are saying that because ICE is around town, none of the workers want to come to work. Therefore, they're saying the traffic coming into the business isn't there anymore, and that would be because to me, it'd be the rioters, not the ICE themselves.
Right. And that I would agree. I mean, you got to do something about them. And I think the police have been stepping up and doing something about them now. I haven't heard recently. Have you heard anything? Are there massive problems still, or are they? I just haven't heard anything in the news about them lately.
Well, there's a constant presence at the Whipple building. Protesters outside. The local police did go in, arrest 40 of them. But I also read another article. Basically, they didn't, because the federal government didn't have the people to charge them, that they've been basically been letting them go, or work out a plea deal instead of bringing them actually to court and throwing them in jail. So, but then you can't go in the neighborhoods because they've set up, as we spoke earlier, about the roadblocks.
The barriers,
yeah, the barriers. So now the people that I know locally down there, they don't want to go into those neighborhoods because they don't want to get hassled by the protesters.
Yeah. In fact, that's not just now. I mean, I know a lot of people that just don't go into downtown Minneapolis anymore because of the state it's in, which is sad. It used to be beautiful. When I worked in there in the 90s, it felt safe day and night, and it was very vibrant. And now it's a shell of what it used to be. All right. We're going to move on to Bloody Mary Moriarty. Moriarty, public defender, criticized ICE for detaining alleged child sex abusers at county courthouse. So they are actually angry that ICE has detained an alleged sex child abuser. I don't know what Mary's point is. I don't know how she got elected, and I don't know what she thinks it means to be a public servant to protect the people of Minneapolis. She has a catch and release program for criminals, and therefore people stop reporting crimes because if somebody does something to you and you call the cops and they go to jail and they're out in a couple hours, they're coming back still mad. So they're going to come after you. So that means people just don't report crimes anymore. And for her to be upset that 2 illegal aliens were detained, she's not helping us. You either love the country you live in or go live in the country you love. I mean, if you like whatever country it is, I don't even know what country they're from. They're here illegally. You want to help these guys, go to their country and make their country better. Because one of the things I was thinking about is like, all these protests mean nothing. The people are coming here for a reason, because it's a better life in America. If you want to help them out, go to their country so that they don't feel like they should come to America and their country should get better. That would be a good place to spend your time. That would be a good use of your life if you think that that's what's going to help. Let's see.
And ICE already said that if they apprehend an illegal in the courthouse, they will bring them back for their next court appearance. That's already been established.
Good.
But they want their guys, so as soon as they get convicted, not convicted, they get thrown out. They're just doing their job that Obama and Biden and Walz all signed up for.
Right. Yeah. So and letting them go like that just means that the ICE agents are in the neighborhood, which is what people are protesting to begin with. So if they just handed them over to ICE at the courthouse, that's 2 guys, not 6. And that must be the deal they struck with Walz and Fry, so that they're going to start handing them over, and that would be what they needed to pull down, which is what everybody wants. So I honestly wish they weren't here at all, because they didn't have a job to do, but it is what it is. St. Paul City Council, hotels should tell ICE they're not welcome. A resolution passed Wednesday urges hotels in St. Paul not to house federal immigration agents. Oh, you got to love these guys. City, I don't know much about St. Paul City Council. Minneapolis City Council is crazy left. I mean, super far left. Sounds like St. Paul must be too. Why would this rise to the occasion of the city government even talking about it?
Yeah, and then so on one hand it says don't do business with them, and then on the other hand, the businesses are complaining they don't have enough people there, so the state should pay them.
Right.
Well, which is it? It's kind of like the roadblocks. You'd hate ICE, but we're going to do exactly what ICE is doing.
So they passed this thing unanimously. Says residents of St. Paul have reported increasing anxiety, fear, and economic hardship as a result of heightened immigration enforcement activities in Twin Cities metro area. The resolution also said the presence of these federal personnel housed in local hotels has caused significant public safety concerns among residents, workers, and business owners in the city. Yeah, the safety concerns are the crazy protesters are going to come and start smashing things. It's not because the agents are there. They're not doing anything. If they did, they should suffer the consequences for that. But this whole thing about increased anxiety and fear, I don't fear the ICE agents at all. And my friends who are legal immigrants don't either. One of the posts I made about how protesters could actually help themselves or help their cause as opposed to just causing destruction, the first person who liked it was a legal resident now. He's now a U.S. citizen, but he came here from England. He was the first person that liked it. The people who are here legally are mad because they don't get the benefits that the illegals get. They came here and worked hard, spent a ton of money, went through the whole process, and they don't get anything for it. They just have to show, they spent thousands of dollars to get here. So, if you're going to pit groups against each other, the legal immigrants are not happy with the illegal aliens coming in and getting this stuff. St. Paul never change. Twin City child care centers on the edge. Parent patrols watch for ICE. So why? That's another article here, but why? Why are they on edge? What do they think is going to happen? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
The reason I brought this one up is because now they have people watching to see, they have people stationed at the daycare centers watching to see if ICE is going to come up. But when we had the Annunciation shooting a year or two ago, gee, no one stepped up to protect the children, the kids at school. But I'll come to your daycare center and blow a whistle if I see somebody, but I'm not going to stand up to, someone's going to, I'm not going to protect the kids from a shooter.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. That's so they can sleep at night. Oh, this is the good thing that I did today. It's like, no, you didn't do anything.
That's the thing that was bothering me too about this Denfield thing. Denfield's a school here in Duluth, and it's happened all over the place. They let kids out to go out and protest in the parking lot, in an unsecured parking lot. So to get into a school, you have to sign in, you have to go through security. You can't just walk around the school. But what they're doing is letting the kids go out in the public area. It's dangerous. Well, I don't know if it's that dangerous, but if they're so concerned about school safety, they wouldn't be allowing this. They wouldn't let the kids go out into the public area without escort, without armed security guards. All right. Anything else with that? Are we done with that subject? Hopefully, God, we are.
Yeah, I think we're done.
All right. I'm going to talk about why is it so expensive to build a house in Minnesota right now. So I'm going to post this. We'll post this article so people can read it. But it basically comes down to materials and labor, land, and regulations. So nothing is really surprising about that because that's always what's going to be the thing that causes it. But in Minnesota, the regulations are high. They're not California high yet, but they're pretty high. And they keep adding more and more regulations. The land has been increasing, which I don't understand. And now that we've deported a number of people, hopefully there's more land available to people. Housing is going to free up a little bit. That's the good news about the ICE deportations. But the regulations is something we really have to do something about. We have to make it easier for people to build houses and keep houses because they're getting way out of hand for cost. So I'll post this article. It's not worth going into too much more detail, but it's interesting to read. Keith Ellison, another one of our charming Minnesota guys. He's the AG. AG Ellison, legislators decry pause in gender-affirming healthcare at Children's. So they're not allowing people to transition Children's. You know what? If you're an adult and you decide you want to do that, you want to pay for it, go ahead. I don't really care. But keep the kids out of it until they're old enough to understand what they're going to do the rest of their lives. It's not your business to come and let them do this. And it's not the kids, it's the parents or it's the teachers that are grooming the kids. So, but Ellison and his appointed duty to sue Trump for everything instead of looking out for Minnesota residents, this is what he chooses to do. Just another Keith Ellison feather in his cap.
Did you see what he did today at the Senate hearings?
Mm-mm.
He, Josh, I can't remember his last name, was asked him a question, and the first question was, "Are you the AG of Minnesota?" And he wouldn't answer it.
Well, he probably doesn't know.
He told him, he goes, "Yeah, you know what I do." It's like, It's like, you just answer the question,
He was coached.
So now, him and Walls were there. So now, 430,000 apiece. So there's another $1 million of taxpayers, so they could prepare to ask questions that they obviously he didn't know who he was. And
he was coached. And the way they coached him was do not answer a yes or no question with yes or no. Right? So that's what he did. He's not smart enough to understand that that's not a trick question. But he will not answer a yes or no question at all with a yes or no. Nobody does. It's infuriating watching those things because nothing happens.
You're right. And then nothing is going to happen from this one. They're all gonna showcase and then say their piece, sleep well tonight because they are so important, but nothing's actually gonna happen.
Okay. Last thing for Minnesota news is 2 of the Republican candidates have dropped out. Something horrible happened with Jeff Johnson. Something happened with his daughter, and it's just awful. And then Scott Jensen has dropped out. I think he saw the writing on the wall, and now he's going to try to become the state auditor. So the field is narrowing, and I think it's going to come down to Lisa Damuth, Kendall Qualls, or Mike Lindell. I think those are the 3 big ones that have been leading all the time, and we'll figure out who's going to rise to the top of that in the next month or 2. And I hope when that happens, when they really figure out who the contender is, it just goes down to that person. We really need a strong Republican candidate that can go against whoever the Democrats are going to do. Right now, it's Klobuchar. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but even Klobuchar has been losing to undecided in many areas.
Ooh.
So, yeah. And that's just Democrat ticket too, and she didn't win. People would rather not decide than pick her. So I wouldn't.
All right. I'm going to slam through the national news. So we're not going to spend a great deal of time on this. I just wanted to point out the number of federal government jobs is the lowest it's been in 50 years. If you look at this graph, it pops up and down and pops up and down, but it's gone down considerably in this first term, year of Trump's term. That's a good thing. Private sector jobs are growing, and public sector jobs are going down. And that's the way it should be. We should have a lean, tight government system, and private sector is where people are, and that's where you get your tax money, right? Because if you have a government worker, it says on their check they're paying taxes, but they're not really paying into the tax base. It's the private sector workers who pay into the tax base. So when a public sector worker has the taxes taken out, what they do is they take all the money from this pot and then they put some back into that pot. That's their taxes. The private sector works, tax money goes into the pot, right? So the less public sector employees we have and the more private sector employees we have, the better our economy is. So that's the first 2. Something big happened down in Texas. I wanted to point out, if nobody saw this, there was a major operation that seized 134 plus acres 134,000 plus acres of land away from the Mexican cartels in Grand City, Texas. And then the FAA stopped all flights into El Paso, Texas for 10 days. It's been now lifted, apparently, because Mexican cartels threatened to down planes with their drones. So there's big stuff happening down in Texas right now. I think there's probably like what you call a secret war going on down there. It's a lot of stuff happening that we don't see and we don't get to know about, but it seems like it's a pretty hot spot right now and things are being taken care of, which is good news. I'll move on to the next one. And this is just kind of a side note. It's nothing major, but what I hear when we talk about voter ID is I hear a lot of this is hard on minorities because they don't know how to get an ID or it's too expensive, which is, I think, fairly insulting to them. But this poll says that 76% of Black Americans support voter ID, which is common sense. So I totally believe it. I think it's bad to start saying that they don't like it because they don't know where to get it. There was a great video, and this is from I don't know, 10 years ago now, where a guy goes on the street and asks a bunch of college students, white college students, do you think voter ID laws are good or bad? And they were like, oh, no, minorities can't get it. Then he went and talked to a bunch of people in this New York. He was talking to a bunch of black people on the streets. Like, do you have an ID? Like, yeah. Do you know where to get an ID? Yeah. You'd give directions to it. This isn't some sort of mystical thing that people don't know how to do. And I think is really insulting to think that they don't, right? But staying kind of on that, apparently the Illinois city has handed out $25,000 cash payment to 44 black residents through reparations program. Was Illinois part of the Confederacy, Dave?
Well, it used to be North.
Yeah, it didn't.
I must have failed that in geography class in high school because it obviously was part of the South.
I don't know why the city can give money to people based on their race and it isn't considered racist. People who didn't suffer from racism directly, taking money from people who did not participate in racism or slavery directly, but they seem to be able to take their money and give it to them. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And they are getting sued by someone to stop it, but they've already handed out like 6 million or something like that. So,
right. All right. New Jersey governor signs an executive order limiting ICE cooperation. I didn't want to come back to ICE, but I just was curious why she would do this. But I'll just post this and we'll move on. We won't linger on this story. We talked enough about ICE. This next one you posted, so I want to know more about it. High school rethinks how teens learn money skills. It says by 2031, 73% of public high school students will be subject to mandatory financial literacy requirements, up from just 11% in 2023. If that's what it sounds like to me, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that it's basically what I read was more states are getting involved in this to teach high school kids how to balance a checkbook, how to invest in stocks, the basics of financials, which is what they should be doing.
Yeah, and they should learn how to balance. I know people don't balance their checkbooks anymore because people don't use checks, but you should know how to balance and reconcile your account and understand how much you have. And yeah, like you said, stocks and bonds, you don't have to participate in it, but you should at least understand it. Understand what it is to have a savings account. And is it better if you have savings, put it into a CD, put it into a mutual fund? That's life skills that people can have, because I think I read the average person that's above 50, their savings they have for retirement is $300 on average. So unless you think society is going to take care of you the rest of your life, you better start planning. And you shouldn't assume that society is going to take care of you the rest of your life.
But at least somebody in the education department is realizing this and is going to do something about it. So
that's really positive.
It's not exactly math, but at least it's down a math road. So that's part of the 3 R's or whatever you want to say. So they're getting taught math skills, which next to learning English is just gigantic for high schools.
Yeah, it's R. That stands for arithmetic. And it comes after reading and writing, which is really ironic, but
Yeah, let's start.
All right, we're gonna skip down to health and fitness. And we got 2 stories, and then we're gonna be done for the day. A lawyer for detransitioner. So somebody had transitioned, then they detransitioned back. The lawyer for detransitioner awarded $2 million, warns case signals a tipping point. Every doctor should take it seriously. And then suddenly, like magic, within 24 hours, the American Medical Association endorses delayed gender affirming surgery until adulthood. And American Society of Plastic Surgeons recommend postponing breast and chest genital and facial surgeries until at least the age 19. Yes, exactly. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you wait until you're an adult. then you're making decisions at least, and really you should wait till you're 25, but we have to determine you're an adult at some age, and that age has been 18. So that's the age that you should be able to start making decisions about what you're going to do to yourself. But 25 is when your brain theoretically stops, is done growing, is done maturing, and now you've got what you got. The last thing is, and I found this more funny than anything, apparently Donald Trump is endorsing drinking whole milk. Now, I've been drinking whole milk for a long time because I like the taste, and it fills me up faster than 2%. It's kind of a luxury item. I don't always get it. I get 1% sometimes, but apparently this is a dog whistle, and it's racist, and it goes back to eugenics with Nazis. And it baffles my mind how they can draw these lines to something as crazy as just whole milk, which is tasty. And so I don't know. I thought it was funny. What do you think, Dave?
It's called desperation. I mean, that could easily have been the word of the day. They're just looking for anything to call him a racist. You just think, okay, this is just part of the Trump derangement syndrome. So,
right.
Most of these things you just kind of have to ignore because it's.
Well, it brings me to my word of the day. I thought this was going to be a great idea for word of the day. What does racist mean? A lot of people throw it out there. A lot of people don't know what it means. So I'm just going to give you the dictionary term. It's adjective or noun. Adjective, number 1, based on racial intolerance. 2, discriminatory, especially on the basis of race or religion. And the noun is a person with a prejudiced belief that one race is superior to others. Now, how drinking whole milk can be considered any of those things, I am really having a hard time figuring it out. The only thing I think of is, it's white. So you know what? Drink chocolate whole milk. That's really good too. Anyway,
I was thinking it was we should have done Nazi because the barista put on the coffee cup Nazi to the Democrat city council person, but we already did Nazism, and so they need to go back and actually understand what the word means before they start writing it down everything. So, but we could, it's basically the same thing as that level of stupidity.
Well, I'm surprised, Dave. We've basically gotten through this show without major technical glitches. I haven't lost my connection, which is pretty amazing to me. I think I figured out the place to place my laptop, which is cool. I want to say, please like and subscribe if you found this useful. Please share it. If you want to have conversations, we're willing to talk. The whole reason for the show, which I should have said at the beginning, was just to have a conversation, see how we think, see how a couple conservatives in Minnesota think. Doesn't mean we're right, doesn't mean we're wrong, but this is how we're thinking, and I try to be consistent as possible. But I really appreciate you guys joining us for tonight, and we're going to be again next Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Until then, again, like and subscribe. I'm going to throw you a shaka. So hang loose, try to be good to each other, and until next week, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for, I'm trying to get the song going. Thanks for attending.